Hello everybody. The Fumarole Biome. The latest biome ever added to Don't Starve Together. A hot and steamy location found beneath the earth in the caves of the Constant. A biome known for its incredibly lucrative trees and its incredibly hot atmosphere due to the thermal vents pumping all sorts of miserable hot gases into the surrounding area. It's an area that can overheat you even in the coldest times of year. An area so sweltering that even the light bulbs and ferns will wither and die here. And it's an area we're going to be spending the next few days to see just how long we can survive in the Fumarole Biome without ever leaving. Yes, we're doing one of these old things again. Today, Kessia, who you've seen in previous videos and who does a lot of the art for the channel, and I will be dropping ourselves into this muggy, horrible biome with incredibly little prep time to see if living here is a sustainable idea. The plan is simple. After our 3 days of prep time, I'm going to teleport us directly into the caves and then directly into the Fumarole Biome. From there, it's our goal to forge a sustainable and hopefully comfortable living arrangement. There's honestly not a whole lot known about this biome, the wiki only states the absolute bare minimum, so maybe we'll learn some new things whilst we're down here. All I know is that it's really unpleasant. To keep things interesting, since there's not a whole lot to do down there, I'm going to be setting the seasons to short, so we can hopefully experience all the biome has for us all year round, without needing us to wait. Though, without going into too many spoilers for the video, don't get your hopes up for that. This was an absolute doozy of a challenge, I'm warning you now. Still, it was a very fun one nonetheless. This video was suggested by you guys at home, so thank you so much for suggesting it and now watching it. If you got any more stupid ideas like this, then you know what to do. And if you enjoyed the video, then do all that nonsense people normally do when they like videos if you want to see more. Thank you so much for being here. But I think that pretty much covers it. So without further ado, let's dive on in. Day 1. Prep Day. We got only 3 of these to get everything we need for a biome that doesn't have much, so as soon as we spawn in, we're both off to get as many basic materials as possible. Right now we're focusing on the usual early game rush of trying to get basic tools in the science machine. So whilst we're doing that, let me tell you about the characters that we picked. Kessia picked Wartox, an all-around super duper useful character in any situation, but one that is a prime pick for surviving in times or places when you really shouldn't. Their ability to eat the souls of any enemy they find means they can get food from nearly any creature in the game, on top of their existing drops, as well as healing from the same place. This is going to be great in the Fumarole Biome, since there's only typically one type of creature that can ever spawn down there, and being able to split its drops into food for 2 players is a great choice. Because of this reliance on eating souls, they've gone for a naughty aligned perk layout, which means they don't have to suffer the sanity loss from eating souls, at the cost of souls healing slightly less. Other notable perks that Kessia took were the pan flute perks that allow Wartox to use a pan flute for free every day, and the perk that makes playing the pan flute during this time generates a bevy of souls. On-demand food and healing in a pinch is a wonderful idea in a horrible location. I, on the other hand, picked Weber. Yeah, Wartox and the Weber are kind of cheat codes for location lock challenges like this, but as you'll soon see, it was kind of necessary. Or we at least thought it was. Anyway, Weber. I chose Weber thanks to his ability to eat monster meat with 0 penalty. This means I can introduce spiders into an area, with the spider eggs I spawn with, and simply just feed off of them, as well as any other monsters that may spawn in an area. On top of that, the ability to produce silk in places where it normally cannot exist, like the Fumarole Biome, is also a great boon indeed. It means we can get top hats and all other sorts of nonsense. Both characters seem like great picks for this challenge, so let's see how that actually played out. During all of that exposition, prep time was going kinda rough actually. The world wasn't being too fair to us, and since we had grass geckos, grass tufts were only spawning in the savanna biomes. I did get lucky and found a boon that gave me a bunch of cut stone and our first bits of gold. Our goal right now is to get a science machine as soon as possible to pre-craft a bunch of stuff before we are immediately plunged into the fumarole. So early gold, rocks and sticks is a must. Which is excellent because Kezia found a tallbird biome right away, and in that biome, a clockwork night. Getting gears for an icebox is going to be incredibly beneficial, since I'm like 99% sure that food in the fumarole biome will spoil very fast. We ignored the clockwork for now as we harvested more materials from a neighbouring mosaic biome, with Kezia focusing on gold, whilst I gathered some wood and the occasional bit of niter, since we're gonna need niter for our lovely endothermic fires. First step towards all of that though is a science machine. I plopped one right down next to a touchstone that Kezia harvests for some pigskin, super useful stuff all around. With that science machine, I made my backpack and shovel and put the latter to work on gathering some saplings. When day 2 hit, Kezia made a pair of beefalo bells. These are the things that let you tame a beefalo to make them follow you, allowing you to relocate your poop producing beef wherever you please. And yes, that does mean into caves. We just gotta pray we can actually find the beefalo within our last 2 days of prep time. So whilst I gathered materials, Kezia went hunting for beefalo, not to kill them, but to tame them. I was able to easily pre-craft an alchemy engine thanks to those cut stones I found earlier, as well as pre-craft an endothermic fire that I can place down whenever I want. Both of these are going to be incredibly useful, and the endothermic fire is 100% needed, not optional. I also made a razor at this point in case I could find any spider dens to shear for easy silk. I couldn't find any of those, but I could find a lot of grass tufts and berry bushes however. I didn't want to gather too much because inventory space is very limited, and things may have a hard time growing in the fumarole biome. I wasn't entirely sure if things could even grow down there, but you'll see more about what that means later on. Either way, I gathered the plants I needed whilst Kezia almost got killed by a clockwork rook. I didn't really feel like fighting one of those guys without any armour, so with a spear I made at the science machine earlier, I went back to that clockwork night we saw on day 1 to wreck it for its super useful gears. An icebox is now in the cards for us. Lovely stuff. I spent the rest of day 2 just gathering basic materials. Sure, you can find a lot of rock related stuff in the fumarole biome very efficiently, but it's just considerably easier to harvest it up here because, well, we're not in a fumarole. As you can see as well, I did make sure to collect any pine cones I could find, since we'll be able to use these to introduce trees into the fumarole. Twiggy trees would have been really nice too, but alas, the world didn't spawn with any this time. I did find a pig village though, which did net me some more berry bushes, as well as helping me locate the main road. This was super useful because it led me right into a beefalo herd. Now those bells that Kezia made could get some use. Add 2 beefalo to the list of stock we had for this challenge. A source of poop and eventual food is very lovely. We kept walking along the cobbled road, eventually finding the deciduous biome. This is superb news for Kezia because it means they were able to find a free pan flute near the Glommer statue so they can actually use those pan flute perks for free that we mentioned at the start. A massive source of food for her and healing for both of us. But on the dusk of day 3, I was limited on room and ideas of what to gather. So I spent the last few hours chopping up deciduous trees for some extra starting wood, as well as birch nuts, tree seeds that are edible in a pinch. But that was officially it for prep time. With the prep time officially up, I punch in the command to take us right to the caves, and then right into our new home, the Fumarole Biome. First things first, before we take in any of the sites, we need to get a base set up pronto. Our temperature is already rising rapidly. So using my map as my guide to navigate in the dark, I quickly found a little corner in this muggy place, as right before my skin melted from my flesh, I plopped down the endothermic fire that I pre-crafted during prep time. That's more like it. So yeah, welcome to the Fumarole Biome. This place is always in a state of permanent summer-like heat, in a way. No matter the time of year, you will always be overheating in here, no matter what. Our first priority is to upgrade this temporary endothermic fire into a permanent one. So we plopped down the alchemy engine that I pre-crafted earlier and pulled our resources together to craft our endothermic fire pit. I kinda wish I placed this in a more centralized location since half the light is bleeding over into the void, but we're balling. Our next step is to plant all of these plants I dug up from topside down here so they have plenty of time to grow. The problem with that is that no plants can be planted on the fumarole turf, so I was forced to make a pitchfork this time instead of just making one for aesthetic purposes. Woe is me. Now, an immediate problem that we're facing. We have no, actual reliable light sources. I'm literally tied directly to our endothermic fire pits or torches that I can craft. None of us actually bothered to make any lanterns for this adventure, both because we forgot, but also because we'd have no way of refueling them since light bulbs cannot grow in the Fumarole biome, and the only ones down here are already dead, producing nothing but rot when harvested. This means our only light sources ever will be these fire pits and our torches. Starting to think that maybe other character choices would have been better here, and the challenge has barely begun. And no, before you ask, there are no light wells in the Fumarole either, like there are in other places in the caves that can bleed daylight in. This place is always in pure darkness. But to lighten our shining darkness is this icebox, filled with, actual crumbs. We didn't get much food in our preparation since we knew we could live off spiders and the local wildlife, but it is a bit scary knowing that these are the only rations we have until we have a stable income of food. So let's do a sit rep of this place. It's always dark, it's always very hot, and there's barely any plant-like resources, including things like food. Even something as simple as planting birch trees over here is getting me killed. Thankfully, Kezia could play her flute to get us some healing, however. But that alone isn't going to make this place any easier to survive in. Before you ask, no, breaking the thermal vents nearby will not lower the temperature. It's just always going to be hot in this biome, no matter what. This makes things like thermal stones needed all year round. But right as I make my first thermal stone, we get the Visitor, the only creature native to this biome, the geothermite. Wasting no time to get some food, I decided to fight him. They're pretty slow and don't have too much health, but do have one trick up their sleeves. Oh my god!
Whoa!
That immediately sets you to 90 degrees when he does that.
Jesus.
Wow, that's scary.
It really does.
Nice.
Oh.
Yeah, they cook anyone alive in a nearby radius to a toasty 90 degrees Celsius. They're easy to kill, but you really need to watch out for that attack. It can deal some unavoidable damage to you. Thankfully for us though, they are a source of monster meat and souls, which is food for both of us. Healing too, since that thermal blast attack really cooked us alive. But day 5. Yes, that was our first full day in the Fumarole biome. But on the second one, I finally planted those spider eggs that I spawned with, which introduces another food/silk/healing source into an otherwise scarce biome. I put it a little far from the base as to not annoy Kezia, but maybe I placed it a bit too far. By the way, I know I haven't mentioned at all these weird bouldery looking trees yet. I'll get to those soon, I promise you. It's like the main gimmick and the only reason people actually come to this biome, but trust me, we'll get to it, we just don't need them right now. Something I do need to get to now though is food, since we only have minimal rations and the occasional bug to kill. So that means planting those berry bushes I collected during prep time. They'll all need fertilizing, but that's why we brought the beefalo down here. It'll be slow, but it'll be consistent and it'll work. The trees ain't growing slowly though. They don't seem to mind the horrible heat down here at all. Speaking of the horrible heat, geothermite. Yeah, these things will just constantly respawn in this biome. They have little invisible spawners dotted all around the area, and will just continually spawn from them as time goes on. Forever. and we just happen to base near a few of them. Whoops. As counterintuitive as it may seem, I also make a regular fire pit to help cook what little food we have, but more importantly, grant us more light because it is so dark in here. With this brand new light, I dug up some more turf and plant those grass and saplings down here. But as you can imagine, due to it being so hot down here, any plants that we plant will wither and require constant fertilization. Kinda like how it works in summer, you can fertilize a plant to get one harvest out of it. Not an ideal trade-off, but maybe it'll balance eventually. Are 2 beefalo enough? Yeah, probably not. Honestly, we should have brought some watering cans down here with us, even though they wouldn't have lasted forever, just to help us get it started from the get-go. There was no chance of us getting an ice flingomatic though, since all of the ice spawns melted in New Worlds, and the odds of us finding icebergs were way too low. We got an earthquake too. Hard to forget these things exist, but they're just regular old earthquakes in this biome. No special loot like in the Lunar Grotto or anything. Just rocks, gems, and maybe a mole or rabbit if you're feeling lucky. Nothing that's gonna win any awards, sadly. Oh, and I also have become insane for the first time too. Yeah, it was bound to happen eventually, especially since I'm playing as Weber, who only has 100 maximum sanity. I should have thought about that when picking this character. We also have no legit way of restoring sanity down here at all, so fighting shadow monsters is going to be second nature for both of us as time moves on. This really reminds me of the first cave video I did all those years ago. Either way, time to kill some spiders. A source of all sorts of bits and souls. Not a crazy amount, but still an amount. You may also notice that it is raining. This doesn't do much except make the plants temporarily unwither. Due to the rain only lasting for a few minutes, it's not enough to keep our saplings unwithered permanently, and they will still need refertilization to get any twigs from them. And of course, the rain isn't going to be enough to cool us down, since this place is 90 degrees on a good day. But I do chop down my first boulder bough tree. They take about 5 chops of an axe and drop 1 twig as well as whatever stuff was dangling below the boulder, as well as the boulder. These trees are actually an amazing source of rock related goodies, including gems. It all depends on which biome they grow in. But sadly for us, we don't really need any of that stuff right now besides the 1 twig, due to how primitive our setup currently is. Twigs are needed for light sources, tools, weapons, certain structures, pretty much everything. They're about to become a very fierce bottleneck for us, and our saplings might not be able to keep up. Food is okay though, we got that going for us, if you can consider whatever this is as okay. We probably should see about making a crockpot soon too, so I plant some evergreens nearby to burn for some charcoal later on. Don't know if we're ever going to actually have enough food to make use out of a crockpot, but hey, a man can dream. I wrap up the day by chopping up some more boulder bough trees, specifically targeting the round ones since they're the only ones you can dodge without any speed buffs. The flat-topped ones will always damage you in standard conditions, and yes, I'm doing this specifically to get twigs by the way. Look at all of this. But also, don't look at the sanity situation because yeah, it's a situation, who cares. Day 7. Hard to see the passage of days and time down here due to no sources of natural light, but that's fine. In fact, we barely have sources of unnatural light too. I never expected light to be the biggest problem to deal with when I'm constantly going insane, borderline starving, and 5 seconds away from burning to death when not near an endothermic fire. That's why you don't see us far from the base too much in this video. The combined hazard of the immense heat and how we can only use torches for light means we're practically tethered to our campsite, and that sucks. Plenty of grass in this biome though. These little withered ferns everywhere do give grass when picked, which is nice. What isn't nice is getting cornered by crawling horrors as my spear breaks, and I have no way of making a second one because we have no twigs. But yet, I still survive. I ain't gonna let shadow monsters be the end of me. But we will be the end of those evergreen trees I planted to get us some charcoal. Gosh, the amount of light those things put out when burning is jarring. I miss being able to see so much. Didn't miss fighting nightmares though. Those are just always going to be a thing, so excuse me if I don't mention them too much. except the fact I'm forced to fight them with my axe, because I cannot make a spear. Either way, charcoal. Now we can finally make a crockpot. Oh, the crockpot needs 6 sticks! Bro.
Yeah, I forgot about the sticks.
This is like the opposite of the Lunar Island challenge. In the Lunar Island challenge, I had plenty of sticks, but no grass. In this challenge, I have plenty of grass, but no sticks. What a bummer, huh? Thankfully, Kessia reminded me we can dig up freshly planted pine cones for twigs. Sadly, we don't have many pine cones, and doing so would require shovels, which also require sticks. And chopping a tree requires an axe, which requires sticks. Literally, our entire life in this challenge hinges on sticks. But look, we do have 5 sticks now. That's absolute crazy. With those sticks, we make a torch and go fight some spiders. Not with the torch, that would light them on fire. We should have just made fire pits all over this world, but alas, I am stupid. And insane. But rarely hungry though. That's good, right? I do get injured a lot because I am incredibly reckless when fighting the nightmare creatures, but it's nothing Warthog's healing can't handle.
Yeah.
We got berries, juice sacks. Wow, look at our food. The situation's great. What a rough one this is. Honestly, coming into this challenge, I expected it to be rather easy. Kinda like the cave video I did ages ago, but like slightly hotter. But no. The lack of light and access to even the most basic of resources is a massive bummer. Birch trees have started growing though, silver lining and all that. That's a source of wood, maybe food, but more importantly for us, a stick we can dig up. Wish I remembered we could have done this sooner. But welcome to day 9. Honestly, it's a miracle we're still alive by now, but Weber's ability to eat monster meat from geothermites and spiders is the only reason I'm still here, as well as Kezia keeping me alive. Their hunger situation has been perfectly fine since they've just been getting plenty of soul from our kills and their pan flute, so don't worry too much about them. Maybe we should have gone double Warthogs, but that would have been way too cheesy. In fact, I could think of like 4 different characters that would have been better than Weber, but it's too late for me to change that. Maybe for a second run though. It's kinda scary knowing that if both the fire pits die out and we have no torch on us, that's just fully game over. Which makes this challenge like some kind of more evil version of Lights Out. At least in Lights Out you can get twigs easily and weird little bugs don't spawn in your base and melt your flesh. But we do get these weird rocky trees that give us resources we don't need but also 1 twig. I really, really wish we got twiggy trees in this world. One of the saplings grew! Saplings are growing! Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. I only brought 10 saplings down here because I didn't think. Oh, I thought we'd be getting plenty of twigs from these boulder boughs. You get 1 each. And we can barely venture outside, because the main killer of this whole challenge is the fact that we have no light sources. The fact that there are only light sources are torching Wilson with torch ability would have been great.
Yes.
Willow would have been good as well.
Regretting to, yeah, Willow. We were too worried about food that we forgot about the rest.
I mean, then again, if I wasn't playing Weber, what would I be eating right now?
Yeah, great idea.
The only
you would
food
be eating
source
monster meat and get hurt.
are these.
Yeah, but since I am Warthogs, you could eat the monster food and
yeah, that's a good point. Oh god. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. Past Ashley and Kessia. Either way, I made a drying rack. It didn't cost too many sticks, and actually put the charcoal we got a few days ago to proper use instead of making a crockpot. I like to think that meat I put on here would dry extremely fast due to us living in a gigantic air fryer, but we don't have any monster meat right now. Oh well. I also remember at this point that you can use niter as a fuel for endothermic fire pits, which means we can save the logs and other burnable things for more important applications. I'm learning so much about this game. Well, I'm remembering things that I forgot because I'm stupid. So our daily routine was to just grab poop from the beefalo, check if the plants ain't withered, fertilize them if they are, kill any weird creatures that spawn in our base, fight our nightmares, and get incredibly overstimulated when the depths worms turn up. Oh yeah, our first depths worm attack happened on day 10. Kezia was so kind as to make me a football helmet at this point, because this entire time they had pigskin in their inventory and they didn't tell me, and it's honestly a great thing that she did, because I nearly died thanks to this attack. The combination of crawling horrors, depth worms, and night hands really made me take away way more damage than I really should have. You can all make fun of me in the comments. Thank you for the engagement boost. But we survived. Got lots of meat and a glowberry that gives us the ever so coveted light. I gobbled that thing down right away and put my glowing body to good use by chopping down some more birch trees, which are already going barren because it's almost winter. Don't forget short seasons and all of that. I didn't get too much use out of the glowberry because I couldn't leave the base too much due to us both being insane and having to make sure our only light source didn't get put out by Charlie's evil, horrible hands. Oh, why did so many of you guys call for us to do this challenge? You're all so mean to us. But look, we got lots of birch nuts now, and somehow some actual food. I was worried so much about food, I didn't have time to worry about anything else, like twigs. But can you blame me? The game's called Don't Starve after all, not Don't Die to All Your Nightmares Manifest in the Hot Shadow Caves featuring Terror Beaks.
One is after me.
Shadow
Jesus. Please attack it. Yes. Oh my god, no. The shadow hands. Oh! Broccoli horror! Oh, sure.
Okay. And I died. The problem with us both being insane at this point means that we now have to deal with double the insanity creatures. Also, the fact I built the fire pit close to the edge and also nearby another landmass means a lot of Charlie's shadow hands can just reach over the abyss and become impossible to get rid of outside of letting them put the fires out, which is what happened. Look, it's no big deal. Kezia also took the perk that let her craft a twin-tailed heart out of souls, which is a nifty little item exclusive to Wartox that lets her revive me. Let's all just pretend that horribly avoidable death never happened. Actually, calling it avoidable might be stretching it a little bit. At least I didn't starve. Strangely enough, dying actually gave me more food than eating food did. Funny how that works. Back alive and back to fighting geothermites. What a life to live. It was at this point I realised that Weber was really not the best choice for this challenge. The ability to eat monster meat was fine, but the fact we have Wartox means that it doesn't matter. Anyone can eat monster meat if you have the healer in your party. Sure, you'll go insane, but we're going insane anyway. On top of that, we barely made use out of any of the spiders that I planted because they were too far from the base. And also, since I died, I completely lost my big bushy beard before I could shave it for a bunch of silk. If I could do this challenge again, I'd pick someone like Willow or maybe even Wormwood, but anyone other than Weber. No more complaining, Ash, no more complaining. Day 12, everybody. You can't fault me for surviving this long. Sure, the only way I'm surviving this long is because of Kezia, and because we never leave the base to explore this biome, but trust me when I say this is it. This biome has nothing else other than fumaroles, geothermites, boulder boughs, and scorching horrible heat. Out of all of the location lock challenges I've ever done, this is by far the most painful one. More killing shadows, more fertilizing twigs, more geothermites. You know how it goes. I do chop a bunch of these boulder boughs I planted in the base just to get twigs, but because I planted them way too close to the edge of the world, most of the loot just falls into the abyss. Oh well. These ones can't be dodged, but I really don't care at this point. 5 twigs. We can make like a torch, a spear, and an axe with all of that. Christ, what a pathetic way to survive. I probably should have been chopping more trees and digging up saplings, but I've been kind of preoccupied with fighting nightmares and making sure I don't starve to death. My bad. Welcome to winter. Ladies, gentlemen, and everybody else, this challenge has officially reached the coldest time of the year. I dropped my thermal stone off at the base to see how cold it has gotten, only to immediately come back home because yep, this biome is always blisteringly hot no matter the time of year. I don't know what I expected, really. It's kind of like the volcano from Shipwrecked, and no, we're not doing a challenge there. Maybe. Just leave a comment if you'd want that. But now it's back to doing a whole nother month of doing nothing but sitting at the base cooling down. Nah, screw that. We're going on an adventure. We grabbed our thermal stones, pre-crafted endothermic fires, and went out on an adventure until Kessia told me that she didn't actually take her thermal stone with her and left it at home. And then we got attacked by 3 shadow monsters. So, to everyone at home, if you're complaining at why we never left the base for an extended period of time, this is why. Once we cleared the shadows with minimal injuries, it turns out that the atrium tentacle spawned in this very biome. That unfortunately doesn't mean too much for us since we can't go to the atrium, and the tentacle/clockwork won't drop anything we need right now. But it did mean that light bulbs spawned in this very biome due to the set piece. This entire time we could have made and fueled lanterns. Oh my god. I grabbed those and headed back home as fast as possible, feeling like a massive idiot. But in my defense, this was by far from being guaranteed. The chance of a tentacle, let alone the atrium tentacle that has light bulbs in its set piece spawning in the Fumarole Biome, is pretty low. So the fact we didn't prepare or account for this happening can't be shunned too much. Sure, it would have helped if we actually explored the biome more earlier to find this out sooner, but it's better late than never. We now have a very tiny source of light bulbs in this horrible biome. Unfortunately though, lanterns need twigs, and yada yada yada, we spent all our twigs and torches and spears, we cannot make a lantern, and also I'm under attack again. Look, I know a lot of you at home are probably being all like, oh damn bro, I could easily ownerlize this challenge. And do you know what? Go ahead. Bring your friendly neighborhood warthogs with you if you have any friends, and let me know how that goes. This, I'll seldom call it attempt by Kessia and I, was more so a learning experience at this point. We came in here with no proper research or knowledge of what to fully expect, so it's honestly a miracle we got as far as we did. But we're probably not going to make it much further if I'm going to be honest. Because it's winter, all of our plants are just not going to produce fruit anymore. On top of them also withering after each harvest because it's like summer down here. It basically means that we're in a summer/winter environment, where our crops will wither due to the heat, only to also not produce anything when watered due to it being winter. At least, I think that's how it works down here. So if you want to experience the game's first ever duo season, come on down here during winter. Sure, we're not worrying about freezing to death or the deerclops, but I am worrying about crafting axes just to fight nightmare monsters. And this was a real doozy. At this point, we had no proper fuel for the regular fire pit, and were running out of niter for the endothermic fire pit.
On guard, that's my favourite character from Donkey Kong Country, it's the fish! This is it. I think this is actually it. We've hit the tipping point. You can't survive winter.
That is a challenge.
No, we can survive in 9 days. We can do this.
Oh! Where is your weapon?
And my second death. Yeah, I think this might be it for us. We have no fuel and no ways to make light sources anymore. Again, like I said a million times in this video, I'm shocked that food, of all things, was not an issue in this challenge. But something as simple and mundane as light was. It really makes me feel like a new player again by making me afraid of the dark that just so happens to also melt the skin from your flesh. Kessia has no way of reviving me since we don't have any spider glands for Telltale Hearts, and they have no souls to craft that twin-tailed heart that they used last time. All they could honestly do was just sit there in the ever-encroaching darkness, using what little pieces of niter they had on them to keep the fire from going out. I did try to be their guiding light to help them chop up some boulder boughs in the dark, but that lasted all about 2 seconds before we had to run home. Surrounded by the imminent darkness, nightmare creatures, and this little annoying fella pumping heat into the air, Kessia did all she could to fight for what little moments of life she had left. Until...
Oh!
Ladies and gentlemen, that was it. We did it.
she died. marking the end of this attempt on the Fumarole Biome Challenge. Honestly, what a rough attempt that was. I'm kind of ashamed that we only managed to barely make it to 15 days. What a pathetic little number that is. But I'm not going to beat myself up over it too much because this was the hardest challenge out of the bunch that I've ever attempted on this channel by far. It was also really fun as well. Stepping out of my comfort zone like this really helped me approach things in this game from an angle that I don't usually approach them from, and it got the gears in my head turning on how I could conquer this challenge now that we have the power of knowledge and hindsight. So, everybody watching at home, I have a proposition for you. I am not satisfied with how this run went. I mean, I'm happy with how it went because it means we learned a lot about this challenge, but I'm not satisfied with the end result. I want to attempt this challenge again, with all the knowledge and quote-unquote skills we learned from this run. Would you guys at home like a second attempt of this challenge, where Kessie and I team up as a better selection of characters to see if we can do it on our second attempt? We could also do something like really stupid and turn on shadow rifts or something from the very start, so we're fighting to survive in the super fumarole biome, because yes, in case you didn't know, this biome transforms into a whole brand new type of horror if shadow rifts are enabled. You probably don't have any confidence that we could survive in the shadow fumarole biome after seeing our performance in the normal fumarole biome, but I think our odds might be better than you think they are. Or do you just want us to try and live in a different biome altogether? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you instead mention how I said I wanted to do a part 2 for many challenge videos and never delivered, I will cry instead. Thank you all at home for watching. You are all so wonderful, and it means the world to me that you stuck around this long on what was honestly quite an embarrassing failure of a challenge. I didn't want to just scrap this video entirely because we learned so much and honestly had a very fun time doing it. Let us know what you want us to get up to in the next challenge we do together, and who knows, maybe we'll get around to it. There's also a high chance we have already attempted this challenge again by the time you're watching this video, since it was very fun. Please do try it out yourself and let us know how much better at the game you are than us. For now, we're gonna go take a rest before diving back on in. Cheers again for watching everybody. Take care. Bye bye.